What's up, everyone? The stock market right now is moving in a truly historic way. In this video, I'm going to go over why so many stocks are exploding so quickly and with so much power and momentum. We're also going to go over where the big money is flowing in the stock market right now. And we're also going to talk about opportunities in the market right now, even if you missed this giant uptrend that we saw in the market lately. Make sure to stick with me all the way to the end, but let's get right into it. So looking at the stock market heat map year to date, to say it's been awesome is an understatement. We have powerhouse companies like Tesla up 63% year to date. 63%. We're just like a month in, So giant moves out of Tesla and especially other tech companies. Amazon, the multi-billion-dollar powerhouse, is up 30%. Apple, Meta, Nvidia, like these stocks are all just exploding to the upside. It's insane. I mean, Meta's up 56% year to date. So we're seeing a ton of buying pressure in the market right now. And guys, I'm going to be honest, I wasn't expecting to say this, but we're actually seeing some of these stock prices rise quicker than a carton of eggs. But on a serious note, there's a lot of buying pressure in the market right now. A lot of powerful momentum in big moves, and some of the stocks that are actually, moving up in some giant ways are some of these stocks that reported decent earnings lately. So if we look at companies like AMD as a prime example, from its lows just, I guess you could say a couple months ago, all the way to its current price right now, it's up 60%. And like you could see, like the most recent price action is the most powerful price action. So basically, the moves that we're seeing right now are like the biggest, like these moves are just like setting the tone in the market. And a lot of these other stocks that reported earnings, like Meta as a prime example, are really just exploding to the upside as well. I mean, let's be honest. When's the last time we saw, a powerhouse company like Meta up 26% in one day? It's been a while, so it's awesome to see this movement, and we haven't seen this type of, I guess I could say, euphoria in quite some time. Nvidia actually had lows in November of 2022, right around $90 a share. As this video is being recorded, it's right around $193, and it's up around 115% from its lows. Like, we're not talking about some random penny stock. We're talking about Meta, this is a giant company and it's really moving. And, when you have companies like Meta up 26% in one day, that puts a ton of buying pressure onto the market overall, So there's a lot of euphoria right now, and that's awesome to see. And what's worth noting is, like, if we're being honest, it's not like these recent earnings for Meta or any of these other companies are just complete home runs. Like, some of these earnings are just like, they have some good to them and they have some bad to them. But it's like, at the same time, when you have a stock that went from, you could say, $380 all the way down to $90 in just a couple, or I guess you could say a year, sometimes you, like, even if you just have okay news, that can make the stock pop up. And what's also been huge in the market lately is for some of these companies like Meta and Chevron and others, they're buying back a shit ton of their own stock. So Meta actually announced a $40 billion share buyback program, which will directly add buying pressure into the market. And Chevron's was like double the size, I believe. It was closer to like $80 billion in share buybacks. Like that puts a lot of upwards buying pressure onto the stock, and it's worth noting as we have even more earnings set to go on. So definitely keep that in mind. And even if we, move past some of these powerhouse stocks like Meta and, stocks like that have been having tremendous moves over the past couple months, we're actually seeing just a complete surge of like real hype and real momentum, specifically with artificial intelligence stocks. So as a lot of us already know, ChatGPT has been exploding in popularity over the past couple weeks, and with that has come a lot of hype in the stock market. So when we look at some of these stocks that have a decent amount of exposure to artificial intelligence overall, they've been doing pretty well. Microsoft is a top stock like that. Even just ticker symbol AI, which is C3 AI, has honestly been running quicker than a lot of other stocks in the market right now. Like just a couple minutes ago, we looked at Meta from its low to its high, and it was up around 115%. But that was since November. If we look at an artificial intelligence stock like ticker symbol AI, it is up around 127% just like over the past couple weeks. So some of these artificial intelligence stocks are really moving, and they're moving with like some power, to say the least. So it's like there's a lot of hype that we're seeing in specific industries as well. So keep a close eye on stocks like AI, or maybe Palantir, or Google, or Microsoft, or, there's a lot of AI stocks out there. This video is not to, talk about every single artificial intelligence stock there is in the market, because nowadays a lot of companies have exposure to the artificial intelligence industry in a lot of different ways. So like, obviously we're not going to focus on that in this video, but some of the stocks that are moving the biggest right now are like Microsoft, ticker symbol AI, and even Palantir. But there's a bunch of AI stocks out there, so keep that in mind. What's also worth noting is if we look at the basically historical performance of the stock market, the move we're seeing right now is truly historical. Like, it is, like, if we go all the way back to 1928 and we look at data all the way up to today, the first 21 trading days of 2023 is actually the 8th best start to the year, going all the way back to 1928. So this data is from Charlie Bolello on Twitter. Huge shout out to Charlie. This data is awesome, and all of his other posts are too. But it's like when we look at this data and we look at the stock market over the past couple of weeks, like the moves we're seeing right now are truly like they're big, like they really set the tone. And if we look back at other times when we've seen run-ups like this to start the trading year, for the most part, they've been pretty good. Like, literally every single year when we've had a giant, green start, it has ended in the green, with the exception of 1946 and 1934. Every other single time that the stock market had a giant run-up like this, like especially like anything greater than 5.9%, we've seen the stock market close green, and it's been historically a very good year. So like we could see, for example, in 2019, the stock market in the first 21 trading days popped up by 7.9%. The full year ended up 28.9%. And you can look through all these historical years, but for the most part, when we start out like this, the stock market ends up doing good, which is awesome to see. And there's definitely no complaints there. But what's also worth noting is that while looking at the full year performance, while that tends to be good, it's also important to keep in mind that short term, like over the next couple days and weeks, there will be a lot of volatility and big moves, right? And what's worth noting is that if we look at like a, I guess you could say historical data specifically for February, it gets I don't want to say worrying, but it gets a little bit less hyped up, you can say. So basically, on average, February ends up being an okay month. It's not a great month, but it's not like a bad month either. Like, it's just like okay, usually the first couple trading days of February are pretty good, and as like anywhere from like the 4th trading day of February to like the 10th day of February, there's a lot of mixed movement. Like we don't really see too much power, at least over the past 30 years. Now, as the 11th day through the 16th day, it tends to be a decent time for the stock market. But once we hit that 17th day and go to basically the rest of February, it gets pretty negative. So what we're seeing is for like the next couple of days, next week, on average, the stock market tends to be pretty choppy and mediocre. And then as the, I guess you could say, 11th trading day of February starts, it tends to get a little bit better. And then as we get like halfway through the month or a little bit more than that, it gets pretty red, historically speaking. So that's also worth noting. But over like, the past couple weeks, and even honestly just like the past week specifically, there have been a ton of opportunities. Like even if you miss let's say, buying Meta stock down at 90, or you missed just buying some of these stocks when they were a lot lower, there's also opportunity. And like, even if you missed a lot of the ones that happened recently, there will be more opportunities going forward. And here's basically what you need to know. So as we see increased volatility, whether that be moves to the upside or the downside, we see big moves, obviously, right? That goes hand in hand with volatility. With big moves, a lot of times comes opportunity for short-term trading. So specifically with AMD, we saw a giant move to the upside, right? So that's awesome to see. Someone might look at AMD and say, wow, you know, the stock went from $75 up to $87. Yes, that's a giant move, but the options on some of these stocks are moving more than you could imagine. So like AMD, for example, the 80 strike call option for basically this week, it went from $76 all the way up to $838. Like literally $76 all the way up to $838, and that's just one stock on one specific option. Like some of these other options are moving up by thousands and thousands of %, right? And while it's hard to catch, like, honestly, it's impossible to catch like the exact bottom and exact top, of course. But if you have an option that moves from, let's say, $76 up to $800, even if you're late and you get in the option when it, you know, is at, let's say, $400 and it has a decent move up to $600, there's still a shit ton of opportunity in that scenario. So given that volatility is here to stay, at least for the short term, going forward, we are going to see obviously more green days and obviously more red days. But the thing is, the type of days we're seeing in the market right now are momentum filled. So a lot of times you can ride that momentum and capitalize off of these short-term day trades, you know? So keep that in mind. So like, you know, going forward, if we start to see a lot of these stocks that, let's say, are up a ton over the past couple weeks start to pull back, that's a great time to, you know, maybe get into some put day trades, or maybe do some sort of trade that can profit off of that scenario. Now, what I don't recommend is, you know, let's say we have some stocks that are up a ton. You just have to be careful with like making sure that you're not getting in late is what I'm trying to say. So like with some of these stocks like Meta, you know, it's up 115% over the past couple weeks. You know, if Meta blasts up to 230 and, you know, over the next couple days or next couple weeks, you probably don't want to be buying call options at that point because you're just too late and you'll probably get burned. So what I'm trying to say is that over the next couple days and weeks, there's a lot of opportunity for short-term trading given the amount of increased momentum. As always, you should have a long-term account, and you should be averaging in as time goes by. You should be dollar cost averaging because that's the best way, and honestly just the easiest way to make money in the stock market. Just slowly buying over time, and then with enough time, you should do good. So with that being said, always have a long-term portfolio. But back to some other things that you will want to keep your eye on is that on Friday, February 3rd, we actually have unemployment data set to release, which, you know, it'll be important, but we'll actually have some really important data come out on Tuesday, February 14th, and that'll be the inflation data, which will, you know, seriously move the market. This data point has been one of the most important data points over like the past year to year and a half. So keep that in mind. Inflation is set to fall to 6.3% on an annualized basis. The last reading was at 6.5%. And then one other thing worth noting is the earnings calendar. We have powerhouse companies like Amazon, Apple, Alphabet, aka Google, Starbucks, Qualcomm, and some others reporting on Thursday after close. Depending on what these stocks do, they can instantly move the market in a giant way. So like, even though we're having a ton of positive momentum right now, all of that could change if these companies just bomb earnings, you know? So just keep that in mind. What these stocks do will have a giant impact on the market overall. But besides that, guys, I love to see this market movement. I'm very happy we're seeing these awesome moves right now, and it's been an amazing, amazing start to the year. So I'm super excited. Make sure to subscribe if you're not already. We have some amazing new updates and great information coming out on the channel. So when you subscribe, you'll see my videos recommended to you more often. Besides that, thank you guys so much for watching, and let's continue to crush it in 2023.